Happy Thursday, PES third graders. Miss Jones here for our daily read aloud. I just want to let you know that your teachers miss you. We love you. We wish we were at school with you each day. It's hard waking up every day and not being able to go to school. So I want you to know that you are missed. I can't wait to be able to go into school and see your faces there, your smiles each day. So just want you to know that you're missed, and we wish we were at school with you guys. The weather yesterday was beautiful. Did you guys get to go outside? I know I did. I took lots of walks, took my dog outside. It was a beautiful day. I don't think that today is going to be quite so nice, but I still hope that you're able to get outside and do some exercise. Before we get started, I just want to do a few shout outs. I know your teachers have been monitoring what you're doing on the online programs that you have at school. IXL, Extra Math, Get Epic, Raz Kids, and Head Sprout. Your teachers are able to go on and see what you guys are working on while we can't be at school. Hopefully you're spending a little bit of time each day doing schoolwork. I just want to give a few shout outs. First to my math class. Milo, Luke, and Carter are getting on Extra Math almost every day, and that's not going unnoticed, and I think you guys will be showing a lot of growth and a lot of mastery in those math facts, so I appreciate you working hard on that. IXL, this is a great way to be ready for fourth grade, guys. If you get on IXL, a few minutes every day, just practicing a skill to keep it fresh in your mind. I know it's from my math class. Kendall, Tanner, McKenna, Carter, and Tyler. Way to go, guys. You guys are getting on and practicing your math skills, so you'll be all set for fourth grade next year. My reading class, Get Epic. Jack and Jeremiah have been getting on Get Epic. Thanks, guys, for getting on there and reading books. And Jack has also been getting on reading A to Z and reading books on there, so I appreciate it. We haven't had a lot of people working on Head Sprout during this time, so I want to let you know that is a resource that's there. Parents, if you're watching, Head Sprout is a great resource. They get on the same way they would get on reading A to Z, but in the upper corner, it will say Reading Room or Head Sprout. Click on Head Sprout. Each day it gives the kids a new session, and it's reading instruction at home at your kid's level. So it takes about 20-25 minutes each day to work through a session, so your child can get on, put on headphones, and work through the session to give them practice reading. That's a valuable tool, so I hope some of you will start using that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First, our joke of the day. Thursday's joke of the day. This is really funny. But where do cows like to go on Friday nights? Now, you have to remember this is a typical Friday night, not a Friday night with social distancing during the quarantine that's going on right now because of the virus. So think, on a typical Friday night, where do cows like to go? They like to go to the movies. I know the movies are closed right now, but that's where cows would like to go on a typical Friday night. As we start our read aloud for today, Runaway Ralph. We're on chapter 6. I just want to let you know this is being recorded with permission from Scholastic Publishing Company, who is the publisher of Runaway Ralph by Beverly Cleary. We appreciate them allowing us to do this online for you guys. So I'm just going to back up a little bit and share a little bit of what Mr. Nichols read yesterday. Yesterday, Chum and Ralph kind of got to know each other a little better in the arts and crafts room. Garth got in trouble for coming into the crafts room by himself by Aunt Jill, and he sat down and talked with Aunt Jill, and they kind of came to an understanding about Garth wanting to be alone sometimes, and he didn't want anybody to feed his mouse. And Ralph decided at the end of the chapter that he was finally going to take the initiative, and he was going to talk to Garth the next time he saw him. So that's kind of how the chapter ended, and Mr. Nichols asked you guys to make predictions for the next chapter. The next chapter is called A Thief in the Craft Shop. So hopefully yesterday you read a few sentences making a prediction for the next chapter. And as I read it, you can be thinking about, were your predictions correct? Were they incorrect? It's okay if they're not right. A prediction is just kind of making a guess based on what we know, and reading to see if that's what happened. It's a great strategy that readers use to kind of monitor their reading. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with Chapter 6, A Thief in the Craft Shop. At first, the sign over Ralph's cage was the cause of argument. "But Aunt Jill, how come Garth is the one who gets to feed the mouse?" the campers asked. "I want to feed the mouse too. Why can't I feed the mouse? It isn't fair. Nobody else has a mouse." Aunt Jill always gave the same answer. "Garth gets to feed the mouse because the mouse is his. He caught it in the butterfly net." This policy inspired some of the campers to go mouse hunting, big game hunting they called it, with butterfly nets. But when no mice were caught, enthusiasm waned, and the campers gradually lost interest. Catso, following someone into the craft shop whenever he could. I'm going to back up. Catso followed someone into the craft shop whenever he could, and whenever he succeeded, Aunt Jill said, "Someone had better put that cat out." Usually Lana was the one who picked up Catso and held him with his face over her shoulder as if he were a baby. There's Lana holding Catso. "Poor baby," she crooned, patting Catso on the back as if she were burping an infant. Ralph found the smug look on Catso's face most annoying. Garth was happy, but Ralph was not. The boys showed no signs of running away, and now that he abided by the rules, the two were never alone. The bars of Ralph's cage enclosed a very small area, and no matter how fast he ran on his wheel, he remained in the same place. He began to sit motionless for long periods of time, while he thought more and more about the freedom he had joined back at the Mountain View Inn. He missed those long corridors and his exciting expeditions in search of food. What he had once called crumb scrounging now seemed a test of courage. He even came to admit that he missed his little brothers and sisters and cousins. They were nuisances, but they were livelier than a grumpy hamster. Perhaps he wouldn't mind giving some of the little mice, boy mice of course, short rides on his motorcycle after all. Most of all, Ralph missed the motorcycle. He clutched the wires of his cage and really, recalling the nights he had sped through the corridors of the old hotel while guests snored behind closed doors and tried to pretend they were the grips of handlebars. Vroom, vroom! It was no use. The wires remained what they were, the bars of a small prison, higher but not as long as an economy-sized Kleenex box. Ralph grew listless. So great was his homesickness that choice tidbits from the dining hall tempted him less and less. He sometimes skipped meals, preferring instead to curl up in a corner under some shredded paper, where he dozed, dreaming of dark nights, smooth floors, and speed. "Cheer up," said Chum. "You'll get used to a cage." Ralph did not answer. He wanted to be alone with his thoughts. Garth, on the other hand, no longer wanted to be alone. He came into the craft shop to tend Ralph while other campers were present, and soon he became interested in the tools in the shop and finally went to work with some other boys, building wooden boats to float in the irrigation ditch. One long morning, Ralph passed the time by watching a girl named Karen. Karen was one of the older campers, a girl 12 or 13 years old with long blonde hair, which that morning was wet. All the older girls washed their hair several times a week. Karen was making an old plastic bleach bottle into a piggy bank. She turned it on its side so the handle was on top, glued corks in place for legs, cut a slit under the handle, and painted eyes above the spout, which was now the piggy bank's snout. Ralph noticed that Karen paused from time to time to scratch her left arm. Finally, Karen set her paintbrush across the top of the paint jar and removed her wristwatch, which she laid on the top shelf beside Ralph's cage. He could hear it tick. She scratched the spot where the watch had been, returning to her painting, and then stopped to scratch again. "Karen, let me see your arm," said Aunt Jill, who was showing a boy how to lace together a wallet. "Why, it looks to me as if you have poison oak. You'd better go see the nurse about it, and be careful not to scratch it." "But Aunt Jill, it feels so good to scratch," said Karen, tossing back her hair. "I know, but scratching only spreads the poison oak and makes it worse," said Aunt Jill. "Now run along and see the nurse. I'll wash out your paintbrush for you. It's almost time for the dinner bell." When the bell rang for the noon meal and the craft shop was empty, Ralph felt his fur rise along his spine. Sure enough, just as he expected, there was a curious paw of Catso exploring the hole in the screen door. Then the pink nose appeared. Catso must have pushed hard because the rusty screen gave way and the rest of his head appeared too. Catso did not stop there. He pushed and wiggled until he got one shoulder and then the other through the hole. Then came Catso's front feet, followed by the rest of the beast. Catso was in the craft shop. Where was Sam? Ralph scuttled to the far corner of his cage, where he turned his back to the world and tried to make himself invisible. He heard Catso land lightly on the work table beneath his cage, and knew that this time there was no one to snatch the cat and shove him out the door. Ralph waited, but when nothing happened, he summoned the courage to peek over his shoulder. Catso was calmly washing himself and appeared not to notice. Ralph was not fooled for an instant. He knew Catso was aware of every move he made. "Drat that cat," he thought bitterly, as his heart beat faster than the tick of the watch on the shelf beside his cage. Catso licked his right paw over and over with great care and began to wash his right ear. "That's right," thought Ralph. "Take your time." He was worn out by bracing himself for the pounce that did not come. "A real war of nerves," he thought. "Just what that cat wants. He's got me where he wants me, and he knows it." Catso groomed his left paw, currying his fur neatly in the direction of his toes. He used his teeth to pull bits of dried mud from between his paw pads and then began to scrub his left ear. "Well, come on," thought Ralph. "Get it over. You don't have to be so neat." He would just as soon be knocked off his shelf by a cat with dirty ears as a cat with clean ears. Poor Ralph, he thinks that cat's going to get him. Catso finished washing, looked at Ralph, and glanced away. Ralph, who was familiar with that maneuver, thought, "Here it comes." But this time Ralph was mistaken. Catso's attention had been caught by the leather strap of the wristwatch hanging over the edge of the shelf. He tapped it with a curious paw and watched it swing back and forth. Ralph's blood chilled as claws appeared from the exploring paw that batted the strap once more. Then the claws hooked the watch strap and dragged the watch down to the work table. "Why, that stupid cat actually thinks the watch band is a tail," thought Ralph in astonishment. Catso sat very still, listening to the watch tick. He batted it experimentally with his paw, but the watch lay as still as any terrified mouse. While Ralph watched in fascination, Catso picked up the watch in his mouth, and with the strap hanging down like a tail, leaped from the table to the floor where he dropped the watch, batted it about and picked it up again, and then slipped through the hole in the screen door. Ralph ventured out of his corner, and with shaking paws clung to the wires of his cage to see what happened next. Catso played with the watch a while on the bamboo leaves. But when the cook with a pan of scraps in hand opened the kitchen door, the greedy animal dropped the watch and ran off to be fed. The watch slid on a smooth bamboo husk until it came to rest, hidden from sight under some leaves. "Talk about close calls," said Chum. "Stupid cat," said Ralph in a weak voice. Ralph was dazed by the whole experience. But he noticed Scarf leave the dining hall when the campers began to sing one of their favorite songs. Up in the air, Junior Birdman. Up in the air, upside down. Up in the air, Junior Birdman. Keep your nose up off the ground. Come into the craft shop, Ralph pleaded silently. True to his promise to Aunt Jill, the boy did not enter the craft shop, but sat alone with his thoughts, twirling idly in a tire suspended from one of the trees, and singing to his private tune. When you hear the doorbell ringing and see the badge of tin, you'll know that Junior Birdmen have turned their box tops in. Birdmen, yeah. That's where we're going to stop for today in our story. Miss Catlet's going to pick up tomorrow and read the rest of chapter 6 to us. We're moving right through. There's 9 chapters in this book, so hopefully next week we'll be able to finish. All right, so what I want you to think about right now is at one point in this story, in this chapter, Ralph starts to feel homesick. He starts to realize that running away probably wasn't such a good idea. It says he longs for his motorcycle rides at the Mountain View Inn. He even misses his family. He misses the feel of his motorcycle going up and down the hallways. So what I want you to think about, we're going to make a connection to Ralph. We're going to think about our lives. And I want you to think about, has there ever been a time in your life when you've been homesick? Or missed your family? It can be maybe you were away at camp or away on vacation or maybe just coming to school and you missed your family. It's hard sometimes to go back to school after summertime when you're used to being with your family and then you come back to school and you don't see them for a long period of time. So think about a time in your life that you've been homesick like Ralph. And I want you can either draw a picture of it or write some sentences about it, write a paragraph about a time when you were homesick. Okay, if you want to share those with me, you can have your parents email me a picture to kjones@kgcs.k12.va.us. I'd love to see them. All right, guys, I hope you have a great day. Have a great, not weekend yet. I was going to tell you to have a great weekend. But have a great day, and I will see you back here next week. Bye, guys.